This is the road test section of the video for a Honda Accord. It's a 2.2 diesel, registered DE10YTZ. Mileage currently on the car is 62,720 miles. The purpose of this test drive now is, as brief as it may be, is just to give it a little bit of reassurance to those who may be coming a fair distance to us, or even local people, in all honesty, that the car you come to see and drive, or hopefully to buy, drives exactly as it should, and hopefully you won't be wasting a trip to us if there's an issue with the car. We're now selling to people from all over kind of the near continent and the extremes of the UK, so people are investing huge amounts of time, money and effort to come see us. So the least we feel as though we can do is to put ourselves out to do this for you. What I try and do on these road tests is to kind of mimic what you'll do yourself when you come and see the car and drive the car, and that's just to go through them in order for you if I can. I always start with the engine. Engine on this car is obviously the 2.2i-DTEC. It's 150 horsepower. I wouldn't expect it to be anything other than it is in the car at the moment. It's a beautifully smooth, free revving engine. Starts absolutely on the button. There's no hint of any vibrations that shouldn't be there. The noises it makes are exactly as it should be. It drives like a couple of the very low mileage ones we've had previously. It's a lovely engine. It really does pull absolutely beautifully. Very easy, very refined, and obviously hugely economical. The nice thing about the DTEC is, as you probably know from the text, these don't run cam belts, they have cam chains, so there's no scheduled change for that at all. Obviously that saves a fair chunk of money in running these cars. The engine then goes through the automatic gearbox, and this is a wonderful gearbox. They sourced it originally from the Honda Legend, so it was a really beefed up gearbox to take the torque of the engine, and unlike some combination of diesel and autos, it works absolutely beautifully together. Very smooth shifting and very quick shifting for a torque converter gearbox. It's beautifully engineered. We've never ever touched one, and we've sold them with some very big mileages in the past. It's a wonderful unit. When you put it into gear, there's no clunks or bangs, first or reverse, which is what you've got to check for on automatics. But it just works brilliantly with this engine, and in this particular car that I'm driving, you wouldn't fault it. It drives absolutely fantastically. While I'm at speed, hand off the wheel there, no vibrations from the steering wheel, tracks absolutely bullet straight. I can't feel a hint of any vibration or nasty kind of looseness in the steering underneath. In fact, it just feels as new. It feels a wonderful steering system, but more of that in a second. Brakes on the car, absolutely rock solid. No feeling of distortion under the brake pedal when you hit the brake pedal, so the discs all seem very fine when I hit the brakes there. There's no rumbles, no grumbles, and there's no vibrations. The suspension of the car, this is the 2010 version, or the later version, so it's been revised, and it's very smooth riding. It's the right side of not being soft, not being too hard. They've got it absolutely right, and again, this particular car, I can feel no sense of wear in the suspension at all. Sometimes you get in a car that's done a few miles or a few years old, and you just feel underneath that the car's got a little bit of wear. Nothing that is wrong with the car, but this exhibits none of that at all. There's no what I call these little aftershocks you get with a little bit of wear, where you get a little bit of kind of a wobble or a bit of a chatter from underneath, but it just goes about its business unbelievably quietly, very smoothly. When I drive at speed on these road tests as well, what I try and listen out for is also a little bit of kind of strange kind of wind noises from the car, which might suggest that you've got a parasail on a window or windscreen or a sunroof, but the car's very quiet. There's no abnormal noises. Certainly when I'm driving the car now, the whole thing has a feel of newness about it. There's not a buzz or a moan from any of the trim. I mean, these are astonishingly well-made cars. Don't think for a second that BMW or Mercedes or Audi are any bit better built than these, because they are not. This feeling of solidity in the car has to be felt to be appreciated. It's a truly brilliantly built car. Looking around the dashboard now, it's a very nicely finished dashboard, very kind of conventional in a good way. So I'm not a huge fan of kind of iDrives and trying to get through sub menus. I know if you master it, then it probably does sort of make things easier, but I've yet to manage that. What I like about these, you've got this lovely high up, very big screen for the sat nav system. That obviously then immediately turns into camera, reverse parking camera, so you select reverse gear. It's really clear and easy to use. To actually use the sat nav system as a doddle, you just literally, you've got this little menu button there, and it's very intuitive. It's very easy to master, within seconds. The radio system and CD system there, again, equally very simple, just big old-fashioned buttons. It's just really nicely done. And the quality of the switch gear is absolutely fantastic. It's first class. Down here we've got the dual zone climate control system. Again, simplicity itself. And down here, obviously, gear lever, and then you've got your heated seats, which I've got on currently because it's a chilly, horrible day today. Coming across, steering wheel, all in absolutely perfect order. Just pointing out, by the way, this car's not been cleaned. It arrived about half an hour ago, and this is the first drive in the car I've had. The chap that drove it down, he drove it a long way to us. He was kind of eulogising about just how nice the car was, but now I can experience it. But coming to the steering wheel, as I said, in lovely condition, lovely thick rimmed leather steering wheel. These little sort of bolsters at where you should have your hands as you're driving along. Top left hand, you've got your audio controls. Top right hand, cruise control. Bottom right, information display control, so you can scroll through different sub menus. And then on the bottom left here, we've got the voice activation system, so you can press buttons and tell it to up its fan speed or change the radio station, that kind of stuff. And then you've got your hands-free telephone system there as well. Auto lights, auto wipers, all in absolutely perfect working order. I've had every button I pressed works absolutely as it should, which comes as no great surprise. And looking at the dashboard now, got a lovely, simple, old school Honda dashboard. Love it. Huge, big, simply labelled, or simply labelled rev counter and speedo. To the left of the rev counter, you've got the temperature gauge, and that's operating at about a third of the way up the gauge, which is exactly where you should be in a Honda car. And on the right, you've got the fuel gauge, and the only light illuminated on the dashboard currently is the fuel light itself. There's no warning lights on the car, again, which I'd fully expect. But looking around the car, aside from just being requiring a clean of the car on the inside, it's in fabulous condition, and it does drive beautifully. And it's worth pointing out that this is a car that there was a fairly expensive car new, currently offered a very, very sensible price. But you're coming to see something that is it's hugely underrated. I mean, it's got a very, very strong following in the used market, as people realise that if you want build quality, people used to assume you went to German cars, but the reality is, in the real world of motoring and driving, then these Hondas are sensationally made. Just push it through the corner a little bit there. It's got just a lovely neutral balance to it. But no, coming back to it, I mean, its natural competitors would be things like perhaps kind of VW Passat, Audi A4, because it's from the same stable. You've got things like the obviously BMW 3 Series and Mercedes C-Class, and perhaps Volvo as well. The reality is, if you're buying the car with your own money, as you probably are, it's in a different league to all of those when it comes to overall reliability, and every study backs that up. The others are very nice to drive, so I'm not suggesting for a second they're not, and many people don't have a lot of bad experiences with them, but plenty do. Whereas with the Hondas, you're generally incredibly unlucky if you have anything go wrong, and it tends to be trivial if it does. The engines and the gearboxes are renowned for their longevity and reliability in operation. Servicing is very, very reasonable. I mean, this one's been serviced fully by Honda up to this point, but it's up to the individual whether they carry that on. But you're not sacrificing any build or any comfort or refinement if you buy a Honda over those manufacturers. But what you aren't going to be having is a very clever DSG box, but with horrendous problems which they're having, and they are horribly expensive when they go wrong. You know, the C-classes have their own issues which everyone knows about, and BMW, you know, timing chain issues, and goodness knows what else is going on. We used to sell loads of those manufacturers, but we just can't anymore. So anyway, I'm digressing from the main business. You know, this car, say if you're going to come and see it, whether it be 10 minutes up the road or a 2-day trip to come over, I can absolutely assure you the drive of the car is absolutely spot on. And if there's anything wrong with the car, I'd let you know. The only thing I can find wrong, and it's trivial, is these wipers. They're smearing very badly, so we'll have to get a new set of wiper blades on the car. But mechanically, you can rest assured it drives absolutely beautifully.